Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's show. We have a wonderful guest, Corey, here to join us today to talk about his experiences with the Surface Pro and the new updates that came out. So we're going to do the first half of the show, and we're going to talk about the changes that have rolled out to Office 365, and then we are going to take the second half of the show and go through Corey's experiences with the Surface, some of the things that we've learned as we've been running them, as well as answer any questions that you guys have. So while we're doing the recording or doing the show, feel free to use the little expansion pieces in each of the different boxes. So if you can't see the screen, you can expand it out to get a bigger image. Second half of the show, Corey will actually be taking another camera and showing off the Surface Book, so you really get a first-hand look. So if you have any questions, please post them to the questions box, and we will answer them as we go through the show. So my name is Jennifer Mason. I work for Planet Technologies out of Washington, D.C. I've been there for a couple of months now, and love SharePoint, love everything out of the box you can do with SharePoint. So that's kind of my sweet spot. Allergic to semicolons and syntax, and just focusing on what you can do directly with SharePoint out of the box. And so, Corey, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, a little too far. Yes, I'm Corey Roth. I've been doing Office 365 and SharePoint consulting for who knows how long now. Know Jennifer obviously quite well.
Such a dork. For those that don't know, we're married.
So yeah, married. That's why we're sitting here in our dining room today, so we can broadcast this here. Also into Windows 10 and devices and consumer products and things like that. So we'll be talking about Windows 10, Surface, Xbox, all sorts of fun stuff today because it's going to be an exciting week in the Windows world.
Very cool. Thank you, Lev. So the first thing we have is our roadmap updates. And so, let's see, my sway is going a little nuts today. I put a link into the Office 365 roadmap. There's not a ton of changes there, nothing really unexpected. I also put a link to Victor's latest post where he kind of does a summary of what's been moved around in the next month, or the last month, previously what's moved around. I think the most interesting thing to note this time was everything that moved into in development category. And so that means it's something that they're working on and that we should be seeing and hearing more about it soon. And so Fast Track has always been a program where you could use partner funds, you could use Fast Track onboarding funds to get moved to Office 365. And so when we see the different things that they're doing now, we see that they're expanding that program. And they came out around WPC and talked about how they were going to expand that program into additional workloads. And so we see that we have things like Azure Rights Management, we have Skype for Business onboarding, migration from Google Drives. If you guys happen to be using Google Drives and want to move into Office 365, they have these programs that you can use to do this. And so this is very interesting.
Yeah, it even includes things like migration off file shares, which is good and bad in the consultant space. So a little concerning, maybe. I don't know. We'll see what that ends up looking right? Because a lot of consultancies build offerings around migrating these various things, but there may be partner dollars that kind of fit in with this. But yeah, definitely they're focusing on compete and getting you off file shares and things like SharePoint OneDrive team sites. SharePoint Online team sites are now available in the Fast Track offer. Well, not available. They're working on it. As to what's currently available, I guess right now it's just Office 365 and Enterprise Mobility Suite, right? I don't think there's any.
Yeah, so the EMS stuff has come out for sure, and that's definitely in available status, so you can get that. But the rest of them, there's 7 new ones that they've listed. So adoption planning assistance, data migration to OneDrive for business from file share. So all really interesting things. And so one of the announcements that they made back in June or July at Partner Conference, whenever that was, and they talked about Fast Track, they started to talk about how it was going to be something that you could keep going back to the well to get more resources. And so it wasn't something that you used once, got set up, and then you were done. You didn't need it anymore. And so this is one of those, if you're just getting ready to use Intune, or you're just getting ready, you want to do some stuff for Skype for Business and stuff like that, they're going to have resources and dollars available for you to do that. So you can work with your partner of record. So if you have a partner that you're already working with, you can ask them to help you get set up at the onboarding center, and they can actually be engaged as well, or you can go directly to the onboarding center and do that. So again, nothing's out yet. It just says what they're doing, and we have seen in the past where things have gone from in development to canceled. So we kind of have to watch and see what it is, but
I suspect this stuff will be out.
I believe so.
I would imagine sometime next year, obviously.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it'll be longer than that. Especially around the way Microsoft product groups and employees and even the sales staff are kind of incentivized this year. It's all about adoption of various projects, Azure, Office 365, and the various subsets on there. So they're going to want to get this out, and most of these offerings generally come with some kind of almost free aspect of it, or some adoption offering. Like EMS, you can get up to $60,000 for your partner to help move you onto EMS. So if that's something you're looking at, of course it depends on the size of your org and how many seats you're buying of EMS, but it's a nice way to minimum build a proof of concept and figure out what it takes to get started.
And then also for some of these things, if you're an organization, why is it good to know what's coming? Because you don't want to necessarily go spend all of this money to get something migrated to realize, oh, if we just would have waited a couple of months, we could have maybe gotten some additional funding for that. So definitely things you want to be aware of and notice that's coming. So I thought that one was worth pointing out for us today. Beyond that, we had some updates to the message center. There was not anything super awesome that really was in the message center between the last show and this one. There were a few changes. I did notice that my admin portal has been updated to the new admin portal, as well as some of the new reports that are there. And so I was going to actually sign in quickly.
Yeah, this new admin portal is kind of where they're transitioning to make common tasks easier. So they're centered around first things like user management, and as Jennifer tries to remember her login, you still have the old portal, so it's not gone away, but you have the ability to switch to the new portal. So if you're doing any kind of bulk updated users and tasks, and then all those kind of admin, some of that stuff's already there, and you can take advantage of it. And we'll see it here.
Well, the honest moments with Jen, I've looked at the new admin portal. Every time I've actually had to go in and do something, I really haven't been able to find it in the new one, so I've switched back to the old one to find it. But you can say get a sneak peek, and it's going to come up, and basically it's going to reload your experience to be looking at the new admin center. This would be something that I'd tell you to look at every couple of days if you're really looking to see what's there. The reason that I say that is because last week I had users, billing, and service health, and I didn't have any of the other pieces. I don't even think I had service health. So I had like users and billing, and then when I opened it again today, I had some additional pieces. And so we can take a tour, and it's going to show us some of the different things that are there. We can also go in and see other messages that are there. This one is interesting. Like, this is, May 14th, 2015, March 2015, and so it's pushing information to me that's maybe not the most relevant, so I'm sure they're going to...
Looks like they fixed the sort order on that one. So,
they're going to...
You notice, like, the font's not right at the top, right?
Yeah.
There's some things like that. I noticed the most interesting thing on the list, what's new, is that winter is coming.
Oh, that's awesome. I haven't
Nothing
seen
happens
that.
when you click on that, winter's
There must be a Game of Thrones fan there.
Yeah. So...
I don't know if we should be concerned. That would be a good thing.
So I don't know if they're about to get attacked by the,
Oh my, that's
but the
awesome.
groups, the message center showed up. Groups, I know, showed up this week.
Yeah.
So you can manage your Office 365 groups there.
Message center was new this week too. I didn't have it last week. So it's interesting things that are there that you can go see. I think it's going to keep evolving and keep growing and keep making those changes.
The interface to manage users is quite nice now. I think it's a nice improvement.
Oops.
You keep right-clicking somehow.
Computer challenge today.
So it's more contextual, and you can see it's they've kind of cleaned it up, and you can specify which projects and directly which license. Apparently, you have 1 million Power BI licenses available.
That's kind of awesome.
Awesome. But definitely it makes all these kind of user tasks, I think, easier already. I've already messed with it a little bit. I think it's a nice change.
Yeah. The other new thing that they have, and like I said, you can't necessarily get to everything, so I couldn't find a way to get to this from the new interface yet. But under reports, we can click on reports and it's going to show me some of the reports that are new. And what's really nice about this is this nice little new next to us that shows us all of the things that we have that have been new. So I can click on these reports and run them, but this is a test tenant where I don't do anything. So you can see that would be that. One day I sent one email and it's, you know, charting that. So if you were to actually use this on a tenant that had some data, you would see different things. So they were going to keep adding additional reports. So there's some notes about that in the message center, and it's going to come in and show you desktop activations, activated users, different things that you can do for things. So that would help, and they're making these things much easier to get to. So these haven't existed before, so definitely huge improvements that are there. In addition to that, something to note is that the Microsoft Garage, they used to be the Office Garage, but now they're the Microsoft Garage. They
Mechanics now, or
Mechanics. I'm sorry.
They changed their name again.
They were Office Mechanics, now they're Microsoft Mechanics because Microsoft Garage is the one that makes apps.
Right, something like that. Anyhow.
Which, on a side note, Microsoft Garage has a new app for rating your mustache for November.
Is that what that is?
It's actually kind of cool. Like, I don't have a mustache, but the app put one on me. It was actually pretty cool, and I didn't rank very well. Yeah. But anyway, so Microsoft Mechanics has a new video for updates to the admin center, and so Jeremy Chapman's in there doing a video update, and so we put a link to that in this way, so if you wanted to watch that and see some more of the admin updates that were there, we have that for you. Oops. I keep trying to touch the screen like it's going to do something.
Not buying another touch monitor.
I don't have a touch monitor.
Well, still not buying one.
All right, so blog updates. We have got just a few things. There was a very, very light week when it came to this. One thing I do think is super interesting is that we've always said with the new release of Office 2016, we would get feature functionality released on a regular cadence. And we actually have. So it went live a month or so ago, and then Kirk did an email, a blog post, not an email, talking about all of the new features that have come. And so Skype voice integration into Office Online, you can create documents quicker inside of Chrome. So if you're inside of Chrome trying to generate new documents, they fixed some features there, and a Visual Basic editor to 2016 from that.
The integration between Office and which we haven't seen on any other browsers previously, so using Chrome should be easier. But
so really good stuff, and it's neat to see them actually pushing out features on a regular cadence. So it's only been a month. We're already seeing new features that are there. There's some updates to co-authoring in Word. Same thing with Outlook attachments. It's easier to get an Outlook attachment and just immediately start editing it. So nothing super significant, but a lot of insignificant things are ultimately going to add up to a very awesome overall product. And so that's kind of what we've seen. There's also some tips and tricks and stuff like that for Mac users with Office. So there's a lot of good stuff with Office that's coming out there.
Check that out someday.
We should. If you're not going to buy me a touch screen, I seriously doubt you're going to buy me a Mac.
It's like the cheap one.
I don't, yeah. I'm going to let my husband talk about this one. OneDrive for business storage for consumers. And if you guys have any questions, just a reminder, you can post them to the chat window that we have called questions, and we'll get to them. But Corey, why don't you tell us about the sad cloud that is OneDrive for Business?
So it's not necessarily OneDrive for Business, it's OneDrive and OneDrive for Business. So basically what this comes down to is last Monday or Tuesday, I can't remember, Microsoft announced on the OneDrive blog that they are making changes to the storage available in the consumer SKUs. Basically what it came down to, and my interpretation of it is that some college kids were running Ware sites or something like that using their OneDrive university account. Some of them were exceeding. I'm blaming the college kids. I'm just assuming this is what it is. Um, some of them were using in excess of like 60 or 70 terabytes um, with their unlimited offering, and they killed it, right? They had to make a business decision that the growth was not manageable for them to turn a profit, on OneDrive. And they usually make some money on it and pay for the service. Obviously, storage does have a cost, and as storage costs are shrinking, there's still a cost for offering whatever it is they're offering. So they shrunk it down to 1 terabyte for those particular SKUs, which is back where it actually originally was a year and a half ago or so. So it hasn't really been that
Drastically
long.
changed, yeah.
Most users use significantly less than 1 terabyte. In fact, most of them use probably less than 100 gigs. So it's not necessarily a big deal, except for those people who had way too much stuff stored in there. People say limited is limited, but everything has a fair use clause. Your cell phone plan has a fair use clause. Your cable provider has a fair use clause, and so does OneDrive, right? It's no difference. If you're taking up more than everybody else, they're going to do something to stop you. So that's what they did, and of course, the people that were doing that were the cloud of screamers, and
There's something like how many user voices, like 30,000
right.
or something like that within the first day
anymore,
of people getting my storage
the last
back.
count I heard was like 50 or 60,000. They want their
That's a lot of
storage back.
users.
The other thing they did on the consumer side is, again, this part doesn't affect Office 365, but they changed the free storage amount from 15 gigabytes to 5 gigabytes. 15 gigabytes was pretty generous, more than any other cloud offering. 5 gigabytes is in line with what iCloud does, a little less than what Google does, I believe. So they reduced that. Getting storage you can get a lot of free storage in the past, a variety of ways. I somehow have 583 gigabytes available to me through various promotions. Some of it will expire off eventually, but I was grandfathered into some of it because I've had OneDrive for forever, it seems like. But you can buy more storage. It's relatively cheap at $2 a month for 50 gigabytes. Even if you pay that twice or something like that, it's pretty reasonable to get 100 gigabytes and still store all your photos. Some people are like, oh, I'm going to go up and switch to Box or Google or whatever, but in reality, it's not that much different on the consumer side. I don't think what they're doing is out of the question. I think they have every right to do it. It's just like people like to complain. This doesn't affect your enterprise stuff. So your enterprise stuff, all your ESQs and all that, storage hasn't changed there. They reserve the right to make changes there as well, but right now nothing changes right there. So for most of you who are using Office 365, it probably won't change anything.
Yeah, probably won't impact. Awesome.
Most people I know don't have terabytes worth of business documents anyway. At least not that they're all.
Yeah.
That they all, unless you're dealing with marketing people, or maybe it's still in a shared area, right?
Yeah, most likely. Okay, so that's our update there. Our next update is about upcoming events, and so there's two different series of events or things that are coming. November 18th and 19th, this is a developer event. So if you were like me, someone who doesn't do development work, you might want to check into these for the keynotes. So you kind of get an idea of what's coming next, see what they're working on, and different things along those lines. But there's a link in this way that you guys can join. So it's Connect. It's November 18th and 19th, so that's next week.
Next week.
It's crazy. It's next week. It's a purely virtual event, so you can connect to it and join that. There's also a Modern Workplace webcast series, and this is from the MTC, where people are live in the MTC, which is the Microsoft Technology Centers, doing these presentations about different things you can do. This is very much an end-user focused or a power user focused event, so it should speak really well to the audience of this show. If you want to go check out this, some of them started early November, so I think we've missed them, and they go all the way through early December. So there's a couple of different events you can sign up for and join there. So
the Cloud Roadshow has also been going on as well.
Oh, that's true.
Last week they were in Dallas. Today they're in Toronto. I don't know where they're going next. I think they start going further east. But also keep an eye out, see if there's one of those near you. It's another good opportunity to get some free training.
Definitely. All right. And next, two more quick updates. The first one is that people that were using Polycom systems, so Polycom, Smart Link Rooms, Crest Rooms, different things like that. If you had one of those link room systems, it is getting updated to be a Skype for Business room system. So kind of a screenshot of what the UI is going to change. How it's going to change is dependent on how your administrators have configured your environment, whether it gets auto updates or they push it out. So just something to watch for and look for. I'm sure if your organization is doing it, there's going to be some type of training available.
I've yet to see one of these ever outside of Microsoft, but they are really cool when you get to use them.
I've had one at corporations. Yeah.
So, but that goes out today, I guess. And
yeah.
I think it'll be a nice update for those that have them. I think you'll see more of them when people start looking and buying more Surface Hub type devices as well.
Yeah, definitely. And the last update is the Azure Authenticator for iOS now supports Touch ID. Do you want to say anything about that one?
Yeah. So. A lot of you probably are used to using VPNs, and you have to use a little, key fob token thing, type in the little number, right? Office 365 also supports that, and some orgs use it, not a whole lot, but for those that want to use that, before you could, when you logged in, verify your identity by either sending you a text message or calling you or something like that. Now there's also an app. Before you had to type in the code on the app, but now for those on iPhones, you can just use your Touch ID on it, and that will log you in automatically. So it should make it
kind of cool.
Authenticating with multi-factor authentication much easier. So if you use that, be looking for that.
That's cool. All right. Next, Corey is going to give us the Windows 10 fall update. So why don't you give us an update on what is coming and why we should care?
So this is a big week. Windows 10 fall update's coming. I don't think they've actually officially said it's coming for Windows yet, but the general consensus is it's coming, and it's coming on Thursday because that's when the Xbox release is coming, which I'll talk about in just a second. And so what they call this, it's got a few code names in case you're looking for other details in it in the media, but they'll call it Threshold 2. The first release was called Threshold of Windows. They called it Threshold. So they call this Threshold 2 or TH2. And this is significant for a number of reasons. This was really the release that a lot of enterprises were waiting for to do their Windows 10 deployments. They're not going to wait around as long like they did last time. A lot of them skipped Windows 8 or 8.1. A lot of enterprises aren't going to wait around as long because it's time for them to upgrade, and they're getting more people showing up with Surface devices and things like that, which is doing pretty well in the enterprise. So they've got to upgrade. So they've been waiting for this. It also, on the enterprise front, includes features called Enterprise Data Protection. Windows 10 on the enterprise side, just at a high level, has a bunch of things built in to keep consumers from screwing up their computers. When you download something, it actually goes into a virtual machine in isolation. It checks it out and will let you use it. So Enterprise Data Protection is actually a sandbox, just like whereas on your iPhone or something like that, when you install corporate apps through Intune or whatever, and when you leave the company, they can only selectively wipe that part of the device. You could start doing kind of the same thing with a Windows 10 device. So
that's cool.
BYOD, bring your own device, is already blowing up. And this will continue to help it make it easier to do BYOD with PCs as well as your phones that you're using now. So other things from a consumer standpoint that you might care about, Edge got a lot of updates. Like if you notice, if you try to use Edge with Office 365 and drag a file into the file library I released, it didn't work. It did not have drag and drop support.
Can you tell me a scenario where Edge really actually does work? Because I always try to use it and then I quit.
I use it fairly. I use it as my main browser now. It does have.
Really?
Yeah. It does have issues from time to time. Sometimes, it's a little slow to respond. It has gotten better, but the features I really like on it, one is Reading View, and you see the little icon at the top. If you don't know, it looks like a little library book. And when you view a page, say you go to read a news article on some consumer site, and there's a bunch of flashing videos and ads on the side, you click that button, boom, they're all gone, and now you can just read the content of the article. Best feature in Edge. Best
feature ever. Yeah. It's the best time ever.
So that's a great feature. So Edge has got a lot of improvements, like you can hover over tabs to see a preview, things like that. Of course, they're doing various things on the other developer side to make it, do the things it needs to do. Um, the other thing they added, which is really cool, is for people that use Miracast devices around your house, not to be confused with Chromecast or anything like that, where um, it's a plug-in device, or if you have a Roku or any of those types of devices, and Xbox One's going to support eventually if they ever finish it. You can broadcast whatever's on your screen to of your PC or whatever to your TV or whatever, right? So great for conference rooms and things like that. Well, Edge now has an ability, say you go to YouTube or something like that, or maybe you went to go watch the new Star Wars trailer and you want to watch it on your TV instead of your device. This is important, right? Star Wars is coming out. You can go into a menu from Edge and say cast to device, and then you can just pick it, and so it'll broadcast that video, and when it's done, it just returns you to your screen. It just works great. So, pretty excited about that feature as far as Edge goes. But there's a lot coming this week. Windows Phone, the 3 users out there left still using it, are finally going to start seeing Windows 10 builds being pushed to them. Of course,
are you going back?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm interested, but only if a new device magically shows up in my hand. Anyhow, Windows Phone users can upgrade. It has all those nice features that come with it, but it won't go out to your carrier lets it go out, which is still the classic problem that Windows Phone has always had. So, good luck getting it, because AT&T is not going to let you get it because they're evil. And why would they let you get an updated phone when they can just force you to buy a new one? Because that doesn't put any more money in your pocket.
Oh. Is that really what's happening?
That really is what happens. That's why carriers mock updates or take their time, right? Aside from Windows Phone, with Windows on your PC, the one nice feature that Apple's had for a while, if you have a Mac, is that if you get a text message on your Windows Phone, you can reply to it from your PC, or you can just send a text message from your PC. So if your phone buzzes, you don't ever have to leave your keyboard. That's a nice feature. I do like the fact that that's coming. Like I said, Apple's had that for a while, but only within their ecosystem. Let's see. Cortana's going to expand a little bit, more availability for the international users. We in the U.S. forget that you all don't have all the latest things. You don't even have Surfaces yet. You don't even have, and we've had it for a while. But for those that are outside the U.S., certainly care more about those kind of things coming out.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Well, what about the Xbox One? I'm excited about this one.
So Xbox One is getting all sorts of updates. Not necessarily an enterprise thing, but we're seeing more companies use these as enterprise-type devices because they're so versatile, right? First, they'll all be running Windows 10. So Windows 10 already has, I don't know what the last published number is, 110 or something like 110 million. But there's speculations of 130 or 140 million is what has been deployed with Windows 10. Microsoft only.
It's going to go crazy when the Xbox is updated.
Yeah, you think everybody that has an Xbox One, I don't know how many million units are out there, but, I'm guessing another 10, 15 million or something, I don't know. Boom, all those users will be counted as Windows 10 users, right?
Okay.
So the main thing they're focusing on there is a new dashboard experience to make things easier to use, make things quicker. For example, today if you load One Guide, which is the TV listing interface on Xbox One, it's slow to come up, really slow. Like you'll have several seconds lag. So it's supposedly fixed that. It's nice and fast. For those that are gamers, we don't play hardly any games on our Xbox One. We just use it for media streaming and TV and things like that. Occasionally I might play a game once every month or two. But for those that do, it has backwards compatibility with Xbox 360 games. So you'll be able to take those. There's an initial list of games, but you'll be able to take that 100 or so games and be able to play it on your Xbox One and not have to use your old device. So that we're pretty excited about. Of course, they've announced other features coming next year, like the ability to use it as a DVR. DVR is not coming yet. Miracast support's coming to it. I haven't heard anything about Miracast on Xbox One in quite some time, but we'd like to see that come as well, because then it could really do everything we need it to do, at least for us. But yeah, it's and then with Windows 10, pretty soon you'll be able to cross-compile any app that you make on your PC. Will now be able to go to your phone.
Cool.
For the two people that have Windows phones.
It went down from earlier in the show. It was 3, and now it's down to 2.
One person just got rid of it, right? And but also on Xbox as well. So you can think of enterprise. You want to use this as a device in lobbies, console,
conference
media rooms, things like that.
Definitely.
You could build dashboards, apps, or something like that, and have it display on a large screen. And Xbox would be a reasonable way to get that on screen.
And fairly inexpensive compared to other solutions.
Yeah. So you don't have to have proprietary hardware. And then, of course, there's like retail people doing all sorts of crazy things with Kinect, which are very, very cool.
That's cool. Very cool. All right. Well, that is a good update. Thank you. Now we get to talk about the Surface Book review. So
Surface Book.
Corey's going to get his camera going. And so we were probably some of the first people to get the Surface Book. We ordered them the second we could get them online. Both of them came. One of them worked out of the box, and the other one, which was mine, had lots of issues out of the box. So keyboard wouldn't connect, then we finally got that, then keyboard wouldn't work, and touch wouldn't work, and it was very, very difficult. So I actually went, after I used it for half a day, I got Office installed, and installing Office was so painful on it that we actually took it back to the Microsoft Store, and I traded it in for a Surface Pro 4, and I absolutely love the Pro 4. It's everything I loved about the Pro 3, just a little bit better.
Yep.
I adore the keyboard. The keyboard has been absolutely wonderful. So if you're using a Surface Pro 3, you're going to want to go out and get the Pro 4 keyboard.
Which will work on the 3.
Which will work on the 3. As long as you download the right drivers, everything should work. It's got key separation on it, which makes it a more natural experience to do the typing. It actually quiets it down a little bit as well, but it is just a wonderful experience. And if you get the Onyx keyboard, you get the fingerprint reader, which will support Windows Hello. So some things you can look at if you want to get your Surface 3. A lot of people say they're getting the Surface Pro 4 keyboard to make it feel like they're using a Surface Pro 4. But other than that, I've had an excellent experience with it, and I have loved it. Corey kept charging ahead with the book, and so what we thought we would do is let him kind of come on the show and do an overview of what he has learned. And so he's got his camera set up. He's actually going to show off the book and then kind of answer questions and go from there. So why don't you show us what you got?
Sure. So we're going to take a look at the Surface Book today. I got my camera here, and I'm going to do my best to hold things steady, but as you know, this is always difficult. So right now we're looking at the front of the Surface Book. First I'm going to go close it, right? So I'm going to show you what it looks like closed, because this is the biggest thing people talk about. You notice there's like this gap there, right? That's there for a few reasons, and really that hinge is the magic that makes the Surface Book work. Because all the computing power is actually at the top of the display, and so the reason it's there is because it could be detached, if you've probably heard by now. On the side, you'll see we have 2 USB ports. I have like my headset dongle plugged in there, and next to it is a full-size SD card reader. One difference about that is if you're used to the SDXC card reader on the Surface Pro 3, where it's fully flush, this one does not, although somebody mentioned there's some adapter you can kind of get. The top of it has the familiar Microsoft logo. You'll notice that my pen is sitting there on the side using magnet. You can just pull it off and put it back on. And we'll show you how that kind of works here a little bit. Yep. Thank you, Jim. On the other side, we have the Surface Connect port. That's where you'll plug in your Surface dock, and a mini HDMI port, which you can use to plug in like your external monitor, 4K monitor, things like that. So I'm going to open it. And you'll see on my screen, if you look at it, it says looking for you. And it says make sure you're looking directly at the laptop. So right now, Windows Hello, and you'll see the red light kind of blinking there. That's where the Windows Hello camera looking for me. So if I kind of sit down in front of it, you notice it logged in, and I didn't have to do anything. Pretty slick. That alone makes the new line of Surface models very, very cool. Definitely one of my favorite features. Looking at the keyboard of the device, You can see it has a real laptop keyboard, whereas Jen mentioned the Surface Pro 4 keyboard is a nice improvement. The keyboard on the Surface Book is absolutely amazing. Um, it's a real keyboard, it's a real laptop. There's really no compromise in using this keyboard. If you look at the touchpad, it's also huge too, and you can do 3 and 4 finger gestures to open and close apps, for example. And it's very comparable to what you see. They're obviously competing with the MacBook, and so it's got this nice giant keyboard that some of them have had as well. Looking around at the top, we'll see we have a volume up button and volume down. It moves on the Surface Pro 4 as well. And that's the power button as well. Now, I'm going to have Jen hold the camera for a second.
Yes.
And I'm going to show you the detach functionality. And so, on the Surface Book, we have this button right here, detach, or we can also use it with an icon. I don't know how well you can see it. I'll move my hand out of the way, but the top right next to the delete key is the detach button. Now, I want to hold that down for a second. You'll hear a click, and now the tablet has been released. So now we can do fun things like I can get the flip back up and go into Edge and go into writing mode. Maybe I'll start, highlighting some things in my document, right? That's a great feature I find about Edge is that you can kind of highlight this. If you're ever doing like web design work or anything like that, this is like the best way, like send markup to a page.
Oh, definitely.
So, great feature. That's it.
And does it let you then save it as a PDF and share it back out or something?
Absolutely. So up there we have the share icon. There's the save option. There's the share icon.
Very cool.
And then you can send it directly to mail or drop it to your OneNote.
Very cool.
Any of that. So I love that feature. It's definitely. Other than that, you can see it's pretty lightweight.
Yep.
Of the device. By itself, this has about 3-4 hours of battery life, depending on what you're doing. It looks a lot like a Surface Pro 4 in a lot of ways, of course, minus the kickstand. When we're ready to reattach it, we can plug it back in, and it'll reattach. And now you can see I'm pulling on it, and it stays together. So that's completely controlled by software.
Yes, which was an interesting point because when I got mine, the book was not recognizing the keyboard,
right.
And it was only controlled by software, so we had to do some magic to make that happen.
Let's see, somebody asking, is reattaching magnetic like on Surface Pro? No, it's not magnetic. It is actually a thing they call like a mag lock or something like that, a cable lock or something. I can't remember the proper term.
I've got another question. Go ahead.
And basically there's a wire system that attaches the display to the keyboard base, so it's very sturdy. One thing I didn't show, I'm going to go detach one more time.
Another question.
We have another question? Okay. We'll get to that. You can attach it backwards, right? So now it's on backwards, and you're like, okay, I want to use it like this, but use it like that. Now you can use it in a variety of ways. So you can either use it, face up. So basically, I've got it turned to the side. So like if you're sitting on the airplane, you want to watch some movies. Good for that. And then for people like designers, they like to do things like that, and you start writing like that. It has a natural kind of curve to it.
Yeah.
So, I think there was a question. How is the DGPU display? What specifically are you looking for on it? So yes, this is a model that has the dedicated GPU. The base models don't include that. The display is 3000 by 2000. Doesn't matter on the display if you have a DGPU or not. Either way, it'll do 3000 by 2000. When you do have it, it's just like any other laptop with a hybrid video card. So when you engage in a game or a program such as like the Adobe Suite or maybe Maya or something like that for the people that like to do hardcore 3D renderings. It'll engage automatically and detect it and switch over. Um, I've done a little bit of testing with games. It seems to perform just great, better than the Surface Pro 3 did for sure. The Surface Pro 3, it just got an Intel graphics card, so I'm not expecting it to be able to play a game, right? But this does a pretty good job at it. Um, so, so right now I'm attached backwards. You see that. I will again detach. So I can just fold it back around. Feel free to ask more questions as we're kind of going through it. The next piece to take a look at is the Surface Dock. And the Surface Dock, boy, is it in a bumpy road, to say the least. So if you have one monitor, it works okay. If you have two monitors, good luck. The device has had a ton of issues. If you look at the forums, it simply just was not ready. I've been able to get around some of the issues by installing the latest Intel drivers directly outside of the Microsoft path, but it has not been reliable. The first week was.
And I'm trying to use it. I've been trying to use it with the Pro 4, and we still haven't been able to get any external monitors to connect.
Jennifer's, a lot more things I need to check for her to get it to work, and hopefully I can. But I did change the drivers on hers, and it didn't work. The nice thing about this dock is it works with the Surface Pro 3, the Surface Pro 4, and the Surface Book. And so the same dock, and on here what I'm trying to highlight is the power connector is plugged into it on the left, and we have Ethernet, headphones, 2 mini display ports, and 2 USB 3 ports. These are capable of sporting a 4K display each when it works. And then there's 2 more USB 3.0 ports on the back. Now, the device itself is really heavy. I mean, it probably weighs more than like a Surface Pro 3. And the power supply over here is
just as heavy.
Equally heavy. So, not something you want to throw in your backpack necessarily. But in theory, once you get it all working and good to go, it should be fine. So, what I would say about the Surface Dock is expect to have trouble right now. I expect it'll get better in the next couple of weeks, but know what you're getting yourself into.
So everything's working, from my understanding, on the Surface Dock, except for the external monitors, which is a very important reason why you have a dock. Right. But power is working, and internet, and all of that's working, just not the external displays, correct?
Yeah, power, Ethernet works fine, headphones work fine, and like I said, I did get it working with external drivers. I need to do more work on yours to hopefully get it to work. Let's see what the questions are. What can be used to project the screen to a TV for sharing, e.g. view photos? How's the docking station? So the answer, Alan's question, probably your best bet if you want to broadcast a TV. Of course, you can always plug in directly with the micro HDMI port. I'll note that the adapters that you have for the Surface Pro 3 will not work in this dock because they have a slanted angle. So go with generic cheap ones, or I think Microsoft has new ones. But the slant on the connector itself from the Surface Pro 3 did not work. So to answer your question about the TV, our probably preferred choice would be to use a Miracast adapter. You can get one of these for 40 to 60 bucks. It's completely wireless. You just slide out and tell it to connect right from the device's menu. And thank you. And it connects wirelessly. So anytime I want to do something on a TV, that's generally the way I'm going to go. You don't have that, of course, you can use the mini HDMI adapter to HDMI converter and plug right into your TV. So that is the Surface dock. As far as the device, the keyboard is quite amazing on it. Like I said, typing on it is like a real laptop. The real thing, if you want something that's more of a laptop, this is probably the way to go. If you want something that's more portable, like a tablet, Surface Pro 4 is probably the way to go. And that's definitely the experience I've had this week. And for some of the time to go, maybe Surface Pro 4 might be a better use for me. But I do like the device a lot, especially when you just have it sitting on your desk plugged in. You're not really moving it or anything. It works quite well, so you can get the monitor to work.
So traveling with it was difficult?
So, yeah, I guess we can even almost kill this camera. We can flip back over to our original view.
Okay.
And I'd say traveling wasn't difficult with it, but it was different. Some things I got used to. So if you don't have pre-check here in the U.S., you're gonna have to take it out, right? Because it's not a tablet, right? It's a laptop, right? So whereas I could always leave my Surface Pro 3 in my bag, I couldn't do that with the Surface Book, right?
And same with the flight. When you take off, you had to take the keyboard off because it's not a tablet, so you couldn't have it open.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. So like in flight, whereas I could always have my Surface Pro 3 in my lap and they didn't care, if you leave this thing sitting in your lap, they're going to call you on it and say, put it up. Mm-hmm. So you can detach the display and then kind of do your thing that way. But you
how's battery life?
When traveling, the battery life is quoted for crazy numbers, right? So the screen itself is quoted for 3 or 4 hours, and then the keyboard has about 8 hours worth of battery life as well. I tried doing it one day. I've only done one test, and I got about 7 hours life total on it. I'm not doing much, so instead of 12. But I mean, I read like Nantech just posted a review today on the device, and they were getting 12 to 15 hours on it, depending on what they were doing. So, you know, I mean, it could be me when I had open or whatever, but
I did notice the. So we traveled last week. We were out in Redmond for MVP Summit. Corey had his book. I had my Surface Pro 4. My Pro 4 did seem to have battery improvements over my 3.
Did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went longer.
They're quoted at the same, but
it could just have been what I was doing. But
too,
yeah.
Right? To answer a question from Bo, I'm using an i5 model myself. I find that works for most of my needs.
I don't think i7's out yet, is it?
You can get them if you are lucky. But yeah, most of the ship dates are pretty far out in i7. So what I'd say about the i7 is the battery life isn't as good according to the Nantech report. Which is to be expected because it's a more powerful processor. It's not significant, but expect to get a little less battery life in exchange for the more horsepower. But depending on what you're doing, I used i5 on my Surface Pro 3. I was perfectly happy with it. The development I do is all client-side driven anyway, so I don't really need it for that if I am doing any development. And where it might make a difference is gaming, of course. I have a better gaming experience on the i7, but it just depends on what you want to do.
You don't have time to play games.
And I don't have time to play games, really, so hasn't mattered too much for me.
Awesome. Well, do you guys have any other questions for us? Thank you for coming, Corey.
Thank you.
It's kind of fun to see. And Corey's got a lot of articles as well posted on the IT Unity site, so I put the links into the sways as well, so you can get the 3 or 4 different articles that he has out there, and I'm sure he'll do more. And have you decided your verdict yet? He's been toying with the idea of taking it back and getting a 4 Pro instead of keeping the book. Have you decided?
I'm probably going to go back to Surface Pro 4, mainly not because I really have had issues with the device, because I think those will be resolved fairly shortly, right? But mainly because of the form factor, right? There's times where I just jump in the car and I throw my Surface Pro 3 in the car seat with no backpack, no case, nothing, right? I mean, sometimes I just want to grab and go. And I definitely couldn't do that with the Surface Book. I'd be afraid it was going to get messed up or something. So, from someone who travels a lot and wants portability out of their device, you're definitely giving up a little bit of that on the Surface Book.
I think he'll be happy. I think he'll be happy with it because one of the major draws with the book for me was the keyboard. But when I got the updated 4 keyboard and I was doing tests between the two, I really liked the keyboard on the 4 almost as much as the book. Right. So it's a much better experience.
Keyboard is definitely nicer on the new ones. If you do colors available, I might miss the resolution on the screen. I mean, obviously it's a little bigger. Of course, that comes with with the trade-off portability, but it does do a graciously high resolution of 3000 by 2000, and the Surface Pro 4 is a little lower than that. 26, it's some odd number, like 2632 by something or whatever. Um, but it's higher than the Surface Pro 3 because the screen is slightly larger on the Surface Pro 4.
Oh. Um,
I had a question. What's significantly different about the Surface Pro 4 keyboard versus the Surface Pro 3? The biggest thing is the travel distance is increased a little bit on the keys, and there's spacing between them.
Okay.
So if you remember the Surface Pro 3 keyboard, everything's all tight and clumped together. And the touchpad's also significantly bigger as well.
Yes, touchpad's bigger. A lot of people I've noticed, and that's also one thing that I've noticed when I was using the Surface Pro 3, I always had a mouse. If I was sitting and working, even if I was traveling, I had and used my mouse. I have noticed with my 4, though, and the keyboard, if I don't plug in my mouse, I can use my trackpad, and I'm just as efficient otherwise. I've also seen and heard from a couple of people who are big Mac users who also have Surface Pro and looked at the new keyboard, and they were comparing them and saying it was much more comparable to that rich experience that they were expecting.
Yeah, Mac users like their mouse gestures on the trackpad because it has a very large one, and the power users can do like 3 and 4 finger gestures that do various things, and so you can do some of that as well pretty easily now on the Surface series. Cool. Depending on, regardless of which device you get.
Yeah. Well, guys, thanks for coming out today. I don't think we have any other questions, so we will wrap up. I hope. Okay, so somebody asked, what about the iPad Pro versus the Surface Pro 4? Can you answer that one?
So, the iPad Pro, for some reason. The iPad Pro, today Tim Cook, in his usual arrogance, went out and announced, why would you ever want a PC? Really, why would you want a PC? And the media laughed at him. Because as much as the media is a bunch of Apple fanboys, they're not seeing them on this. So when it comes to iPad Pro 4, keep in mind you're still restricted inside that sandbox, so you can only run iOS apps. And although there's a lot of great iOS apps, the Surface Pro 4 can run anything. So if your company has a custom application that's built 15 years ago, but it's necessary for you to do order entry or whatever it is, that's not going to run right now on the iPad Pro unless you write something custom to it. You still don't have, on the iPad, you still don't have the ability to do Windows, so you can't put your apps wherever you want. You can dock them now side by side, so that's a nice improvement, right? Samsung only invented that on the tablet 5 years ago. Microsoft following them. So yes, at least you can do that. Another complaint I hear of is the pencil doesn't stay well attached, and there's no place to really put it. The Surface Pro 4 and the Surface Book, it's easy to knock that thing off, so be careful with it because it's easy to lose.
Yeah, he can say that it's easy to lose. How many did I lose for the 3? I think I lost 2 at least, and for mine, the magnet's cute, but I finally put the pen in a bag because I still knock it off. So I don't consider that one a major selling point. I think this one's easy to lose too.
And the other complaint I've heard about the iPad Pro, and again I haven't touched one yet because they're not out. And I don't have access to any of them at this point. But it's got still the hokey, case back thing where the keyboard folds around and all that, which the iPad 2 have been using forever, and it just doesn't work that great. So there's only one angle you can use because there's no kickstand or anything like that. And if that's not the angle you need, tough, because that's the angle Tim Cook thinks you need. So I love ragging on that guy. If you want to get work done, I don't think you're going to use the iPad Pro. You can, but I just don't think you're going to get the flexibility. Right. You're still going to carry a laptop if you have an iPad Pro. I guarantee it.
Oh, that makes sense. Awesome. Well, thanks again, everybody, for coming out. I love having you on the show. Thank you, Lev. And we've got an exciting show planned for December 2nd. We're still working out the details. I'm working on having a special guest, but I can't tell you about that special guest for a few more weeks, but it should be a really great show.
Good show.
So thank you guys for coming out, and hope you guys enjoy the review. It will be online on IT Unity in a couple of days, so you guys can pull it down. And as always, Corey's easy to find, so if you have any more questions, you can just ping him on Twitter at Corey Roth, and he'll be able to answer them for you. So thanks, guys.
Thanks
Have
for
a
having
great
us.
day.